the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Our co-host this week is Chris O'Brien. This is the Paracast, and I'm Gene Steinberg. And we have had quite a bit of reaction in the forums and from email and even on iTunes as a result of the changeover from an online, strictly online broadcast to one that is carried by terrestrial stations in the U.S. by the GCN radio network. Of course, what that means is once you're on commercial radio, there are more ads. And that's how it works. We use what they call a system clock, which tells us how much programming we have for every segment, and they have to be within a tenth of a second, ladies and gentlemen. Really, I'm serious. And then how much is for commercials and for local news. Now, what this means is that every 3-hour show has about 12 minutes more content than we used to have with a 2-hour show. The rest is news and also the announcements. Some people said, why so many commercials? Other podcasts don't have commercials. Well, folks, here's the reason, and it's really practical. Most podcasts are hobbies. People are just going to their microphones or their headsets and they're putting out a radio show. Let's play radio show. And some of them are really, really interesting. Things that have no commercial appeal but provide loads of fascinating information. Some just present music. The point being that they are not commercial ventures, therefore there are no ads. The other problem is advertisers don't take podcasts seriously. There are too many of them. They don't know which to advertise on and which not, so generally speaking, they don't advertise. There are a few networks out there that do submit advertising to podcasts, but the reason they don't carry ads is not because they don't want to, it's because they can't get any. Now, the other thing that's happening here, of course, is every time we have a guest, we have lots of reactions in our forums at forum.theparacast.com. And on our episode 2 weeks ago, we had publisher, author, adventurer David Hatcher Childress on the show, a very close friend of our co-host Chris O'Brien. And as you notice, Chris, some people weren't too happy about the way he approached these subjects.
Evidently not. Jeez. Well, one thing I really should say here, Gene, is it's really tough to be all things to all people. I don't think it's our job to nail people's ears back. There are a lot of aspects of David's work that I personally have questions about. The bottom line is, though, that the guy's been in, 105 countries. He generally every year travels 2 or 3 months out of the year around the world. He has visited all the sites that he writes and writes about. His work has dovetailed with some of the brightest minds in diffusionist archaeology. He's not an armchair guy. He doesn't just cherry pick other people's theories and work. He goes out in the field and actually does the heavy lifting out there around the world. And it's very difficult to sum up 30-plus years of research and thinking and theorizing in a short 2-hour amount of time. So we're going to have David back on. I think it would be great to start a thread on the Paracast forum for potential questions for David. I think we should move on and really, I think, dive into some of the theorizing that he presented. He just touched on so many different things. We really didn't have the time to go deeply into some of the subjects that he broached.
Now, one of the things we should point out also, Chris, is the fact that because he was basically covering the highlights, the conclusions, we couldn't stop at every single question and say, okay, David, prove that, where's your evidence, But once we focus more tightly on a subject, for example, he has a new book out on Sasquatch, and we want to bring him back to talk about that, we're going to look at every piece of evidence, see if it passes muster, see the stuff that fits in woo-woo land. You like that, woo-woo land, right? Is that Trickster Place, woo-woo land?
Yeah, it's where the trickster goes on vacation, I think.
Oh, I just thought he went to the local brothel or something.
No, the trickster goes on vacation in woo-woo land. You're right. I think it would be a lot more in-depth if we did try to rein our subject down a little bit and really dive into some of the more interesting aspects of his research. I mean, the guy has written 30 books, and published, I don't know, hundreds. So, he's not a quick study, and we definitely need to spend a little time. I think if we narrow our focus subject matter-wise, I think that we'll be able to get into his work and his thinking a lot more in depth for those skeptical types on the forums, I think they'll appreciate that.
I think if the trickster doesn't show up on their lawn, on the front lawn, or come through the window, some people won't believe there's a trickster even, or a Sasquatch. They don't want to read about a Sasquatch. They want that Sasquatch to be coming to their home.
Yeah.
They wanted to basically press the doorbell and say, "Hi, I'm a Sasquatch. Take me to your leader," or give me a bagel and cream cheese, depending on their point of view.
Exactly. Well, yet they'll go to church every Sunday. So,
Wait a minute. We don't know about the religious persuasions of Sasquatch. Maybe they're Jewish. They go to a temple on Friday night. Maybe they're Muslims. It doesn't matter,
Right. Okay, so he goes to temple. Again, I really do think that that David is.
Hello, I'm a Sasquatch. You shouldn't know from it.
A Sasquatch. What is Sasquatch like? They must like matzo ball, right? Matzo ball soup.
Actually, it's Sasquatch soup. They get mishmash soup. You know what that is? You go to a kosher restaurant, get mishmash. It's a mixture of kreplach, which is kind of like a kosher wonton, a matzo ball, noodles, and chicken. It is delicious. What are we talking about soup for?
Sounds like penicillin.
It is. This is Jewish penicillin first class.
Yeah, Mani Shma.
Okay. When did this start?
What? The Sasquatch soup or the...
or the dropping of that language there, that statement.
Oh, shigon. I learned some Hebrew.
You learned some Hebrew. You probably know more Hebrew than I do. It's been, 100 years since I studied Hebrew.
Right.
But that's good to know. Okay, so we're going to have a Hebrew language section of this show, I think. But seriously speaking, by the time you hear this show, which is going to be basically the first weekend of August, we're going to have a forum over at forum.theparacast.com, questions for David Hatcher Childress.
Oh, boy.
You'll ask your questions. The next time he's here, we'll ask those questions. No promises as to whether you will believe him or not. But one thing we're not going to do, we got into a couple of nasty habits in the old administration of the Paracast where after a guest left, we'd have the Monday morning quarterback thing. And that's not bad. Sometimes it's a good idea to have a commentary. But sometimes certain people would use that to trash a guest. Now, it doesn't mean we have to agree with what the guest says. A lot of times we don't. And we'll still ask the hard questions. But, we need to get along sometimes because these subjects are complicated. There isn't a yes or no answer. And sometimes the maybe is very broad.
I'll say.
Now, one of the things you've done amongst all the people who we've had on the show, a lot of people who are involved in research, you've gone out there and spent years checking things. And our guest this week, Ted Phillips, studies trace evidence of UFO sightings. And certainly you, in your studies of various strange places around the country, you've done on-site research.
Yeah. Ted's one of the people that I modeled my approach after. I think Ted is one of the more important figures in the history of UFO investigation. I've known Ted for many years, and he kind of keeps a low profile, and a lot of just your rank and file buffs out there aren't really, I think, that familiar with Ted. And I think this is going to be a really fun show. We're going to show what a true pioneer in this field is like, and what his manner and method and techniques and some of the results of his work are. And I'm really looking forward to this, Gene. Ted's the real deal, and of course he was a protege of J. Allen Hynek and has amassed the largest database of landing trace cases that we know of. I think he's up probably over 5,000 cases. I know 3,000 real solid cases, but in terms of the total number of cases that he has in his database, I mean, it's quite impressive.
Ted Phillips coming up next on
the Paracast.
As you know, the Paracast is brought to you by Audible.com, the Internet's leading provider of audiobooks. With more than 75,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature and featuring audio versions of many New York Times bestsellers. For listeners of the Paracast, Audible.com is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their service. One book to consider, for example, is Above Top Secret, the worldwide UFO cover-up by Timothy Good. Timothy Good, as you know, has been a guest on the Paracast. Yet another book worth considering from Audible.com is Lies and Deception, UFOs and the Secret Agenda, from Timothy Good once again, and also from our old friend Nick Pope. As you know, Nick Pope has also been on the Paracast. This is another book that you're definitely going to want to check out. For this book or another free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/Paracast. That's audiblepodcast.com/Paracast.
Hi, this is Peter Cronschnabel from Midas Resources. It is becoming painfully obvious the Washington bailout is running out of steam and the economy is showing signs of a double-dip recession. As you know, government spending is at an all-time high and inflation will be a direct result of the spending policy. What are you doing right now to protect yourself financially? Are majority of your assets tied up in the stock or bond market? If so, are those assets working for you or against you? One thing is certain, having physical possession of gold and silver will guarantee that no matter what happens to our economy or the dollar, your investment will never be worthless. And it will protect you from that hidden tax, inflation. If you've been thinking about investing in physical possession of precious metals, I can help. Call me today, Peter Cronschnabel, at 800-686-2237, extension 108. And I'll take the time to personally put together a portfolio designed to protect what you've worked so hard for. Call 800-686-2237, extension 108. You worked hard your whole life, and I want to work hard for you. Call Peter Cronschnabel at 800-686-2237, extension 108.
If you suffer from poor sleep, you've got to try MyPillow. Introducing the most revolutionary, most comfortable, and coolest pillow ever, MyPillow. Imagine your very own custom-fit pillow. MyPillow is the only pillow of its kind on the market that uses a patented fill, custom-made to your exact individual needs. MyPillow is 100% made in the USA and has a natural built-in cooling effect that keeps your cervical nerves cool, and that helps you get the best REM sleep possible. MyPillow helps alleviate snoring, migraine, sleep apnea, and other sleeping disorders. MyPillow is antimicrobial, non-allergenic, dust mite resistant, machine washable and dryable, comes in many sizes and will not go flat. And best of all, MyPillow comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what do you have to lose except poor sleep? Go to MyPillowShop.com, mention coupon code GCN and receive up to $40 off. That's MyPillowShop.com or call 952-442-6199. That's 952-442-6199. MyPillow, for the rest of your life.
What is a wind generator?
How can the wind produce power for a small cabin?
How can wind energy be stored and used during an emergency?
Can I assemble my own wind generator?
For answers to questions about wind power, visit windbluepower.com. Did you know the wind can provide your family with emergency power? It can with a wind generator from windbluepower.com. Learn how our amazing LightBreeze wind generator kits start charging a 12-volt battery in just 6-mile-per-hour wind. Or see the new Cyclone X2 dual kit featuring 2 wind generators on just 1 tower. And learn why schools and universities across the country utilize our products to teach about wind power and alternative energy at windbluepower.com. All kits qualify for a 30% IRS tax credit for residential energy efficient property. Enter coupon code RADIO for a 5% discount at windbluepower.com. That's windbluepower.com or call 800-976-0026. That's 800-976-0026.
Tired of searching for great talk radio? Search no more.
I'm told that it has everything.
We are the GCN Radio Network. You're in the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
Ted Phillips has been on the scene investigating UFO cases, trace cases, for many, many years. And that's unlike some people who basically sit behind the armchair, and we need their people, too. We need people who do that, too. But he gets on the scene to see what's going on. And the last time you were on the show, which has got to be a year or two ago, Ted, and that is you were talking about this area of the country that you call Marley Woods, where a lot of strange stuff was going on. Where does that stand now?
Well, the interesting thing about Marley Woods is I've been there 12 years, and the interesting thing is it gets more interesting every year. And I, of course, have done a lot of research into its kind of parallel universe, the Skinwalker Ranch, and have obtained quite a lot of very good information. So it turns out, after all these years, that the Marley Woods is evolving, if you will, just pretty well as Skinwalker has, as far as types of events and results from those types of events. And so I'm using the Skinwalker events and history as kind of a baseline for Marley, and it's right there.
Okay, you know what? Maybe we should look at the comparisons, because we know that Skinwalker Ranch is an area where a lot of strange stuff goes on. But maybe for listeners who've just joined the show, we've had quite a few since we went on the network, exactly what kind of events are we talking about?
Well, at Skinwalker, they have tried to obtain images, still and video and so on, and have hit a lot of major problems in that they have security people that monitor the equipment in the area, and they will look at a camera that's out. Suddenly it just stops operating, and they go to the camera, and either it has no track down problems, but has just stopped working, or the hard line from the camera to the storing area is cut into about 500,000 tiny little pieces, and or the camera is greatly damaged, or the camera's gone. And so then as they put up cameras to watch cameras, a camera, for example, would disappear, and the camera watching the camera had no indication of an individual walking up and taking it. It's just there, one frame, and the next frame, no camera, and that sort of stuff. And I've started to encounter that at Marley in the last year, and they have numerous well-documented sightings of large, very odd animal-like creatures. And lo and behold, we now have that at Marley, and started about 1.5 years ago. And the types of objects seen, the small light balls, and I call them light balls because I don't want people to confuse them with what is commonly known as an orb, which is generally the result of dust particles in front of a digital camera, and has nothing at all to do with this stuff. And the light balls are actually a self-contained light that ranges from the size of a baseball up to a beach ball, and in some cases we've seen the things 10 feet across, and silent, no visible means of support. And I watched one 2 weeks ago for almost 2 hours, a gold-colored outfit, and very small. And the thing cut maneuvers that you think you're going nuts when you watch this thing. And
let's define that. What do you mean by going nuts in terms of watching this? Of course, I'm going nuts quite often just hosting a paranormal radio show, and people say that I'm certifiable.
Yeah. Well, by going nuts, I mean you're standing there in the dark watching this, and you start to question, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? Because it is so out of the ordinary to the extreme that you begin to doubt your own vision. And yet over a period, I photographed the thing, and the camera is not influenced by my insanity, and the camera sees it, so okay, it was there. And but I'm telling you, if you ever see one of these things, and the motion is way incredible, and the motion is so incredibly smooth, And here it is just silently sailing across the sky for perhaps 40, 50 degrees, stopping instantly and following about the same path back to its original point, going straight up, going in circles, coming down to the ground. And that's the second of the gold light balls that I've actually personally seen. The other one was about 3 feet off the ground, and three of us watched as it maneuvered around trees in a very dense woods, and pretty spectacular stuff.
Let me ask you a fast question here. This strange phenomenon, this alone, what you're talking about, could that be some kind of natural effect?
No. I watched two of those one evening, flying side by side, and they were identical in size and shape, color, brightness, and they looked like two old 1930s type automobile headlights, about that size, same configuration, sharp outline, and they were flying about 3 feet apart. They were 60 feet from me, so I had a really good view, and they were coming through a lightly wooded area, and they maintained exactly the same distance apart as they're moving. And as they would both turn to the right and go around a tree, they maintained this same distance. And so in respective positions. And on one occasion, I actually did see them go one on each side of a tree. So they were not connected. And they flew along there for about 35 seconds, then out into a field, and they made a pretty sharp right-angle turn, and as they did so, I could no longer see them.
Okay, so they're basically doing the kind of maneuvers that are common with some UFOs.
Oh, sure, yeah, exactly, except they're so much smaller. So, and they have a lot of times, they've been reported, I haven't got to see this one exactly yet, but the light ball would be seen 6 feet above the ground. It would ascend vertically 6 feet, come back down, go back up 6 feet, go 6 feet to the left. Now, these are approximate, but the witnesses were close.
Okay, so we have fixed maneuvers, and I want to cover that more in more detail.
Yeah.
We have UFO paranormal trace researcher Ted Phillips. Co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Okay, neighbors, here's the problem. Face-to-face business meetings with clients and colleagues are always going to be important. But business travel is a hassle, and it's often a complete waste of money. Well, here's a solution for you. Do more, travel less with GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is an award-winning online meeting service brought to you by Citrix. With just a click, host sales presentations, training sessions, or product demos right from your own desk. Avoid the hassle of traveling and still exceed your sales goals. Plus, GoToMeeting is just $49 a month for unlimited online meetings. Plus, voice over IP and phone conferencing is included. My listeners can try GoToMeeting free for 45 days. For this special offer, visit gotomeeting.com/podcast. Once again, GoToMeeting free for 45 days. Visit gotomeeting.com/podcast.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Hi, this is Alex Jones. Did you know that the global elite are now storing non-hybrid seeds in secret storage vaults near the Arctic Circle? Did you know that in a real meltdown, non-hybrid seeds can become more valuable than silver or gold? It's true, seeds have outperformed even gold and silver before in this country, and it's possible that could even happen again. So our friends at Solutions from Science have put together the perfect mix of non-hybrid seeds. They call it a survival seed bank, and it can produce an endless supply of nutrient-dense food for you and your family. And here's the best part. These seeds have not been genetically modified in any way, and you actually get enough seeds to plant a full-acre crisis garden. So visit them today at survivalseedbank.com. That's survivalseedbank.com, or give them a call at 877-327-0365. That's 877-327-0365. Remember, in a real crisis, non-hybrid seeds are the ultimate barter item. This is Alex Jones for survivalseedbank.com.
Question: what would you rather drink? Acidic water, which burns holes in your body and causes loss of bone mass, or alkaline water, which promotes high energy and vibrant health? The answer is clear. And if you're drinking acidic water, you're helping cancer cells and bacteria to grow out of control. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops combine a unique formula of the most alkaline minerals. Using Plasma pH Drops is the best way to alkalize your water and help you get rid of acid and regain your health and energy. Simply put 10 drops in the water you drink to raise the pH to a healthy alkaline level. Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. Disease organisms like bacteria, viruses, or cancer cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops now by going directly to alkavision.com. That's ALKAvision.com. Or by calling 269-409-1776. Again, 269-409-1776.
On air, online, and on demand.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
This is Leslie Kane, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
We have co-hosts Chris O'Brien, Ted Phillips, UFO trace evidence researcher. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Chris, you want to pick up on the questioning?
Yeah, this is this case, Ted, sounds like what I would call it could be a real litmus test, I think, for actual techniques and equipment that we need to monitor a location-specific area like this. Now, are you using light-aided equipment? Do you have infrared cameras on these objects, or is it standard? Is it a standard video setup?
Well, actually, I have a couple of IR cameras, and primarily what we're using right now is an array of 8 CCD imagers going into a DVR storage, and that way those things can operate 24/7, and when I'm there, I and some of the team members can go out to other areas knowing that if something happens, we're going to have it. And we can try to get closer to the smaller objects and objects near the ground. And we do have in development right now, as a matter of fact, it's being tested right now, an incredible array, which will not only photograph in very high definition the objects, but it will also lock on and track them, and giving you all kinds of telemetry. And it will have, or has, an electromagnetic detector and a lot of bells and whistles. I mean, it's an extreme outfit, and it's being developed formally by a very well-known motion picture person, and obviously I can't give the name, but so we're working along those lines. And my primary interest, and I know what you're saying, and it is a hugely important part of the research, being able to monitor, image, and track these things even at a distance. But my big thing is trying to get as close as possible for personal observation and also photography. So we're working both ends of that. But you're totally right. If you look at what's going on, it's another baseline for imaging equipment. What does it need to do to get the data we really need? And
right, exactly. I'm going through the same thing right now with the San Luis Valley project that I'm doing, which is similar in scope to your effort, although I will be covering, I think, a larger geographic area. How about additional type of instrumentation? You mentioned that you do have some EM detectors and other types of gear. What other approaches in terms of instrumentation are you taking?
Well, we're looking at light spectrum, which is kind of difficult because things on occasion appear for just seconds. And the longer duration objects seem to be almost constantly in motion. And it's the new array, however, when it's locked on, will follow that. And we'll get some really great spectral analysis data.
So you're using some sort of is it like a lens that's gathering the spectra that's dividing the light up, or like a blaze grating?
Right.
And you have to be 90 degrees, I think, to the actual light source. That makes it difficult when objects are moving.
Yes, it does. And you know what kind of amazes me, but I guess I understand it too. People occasionally will say, "Well, why don't you have more really sharp, definitive photographs?" Well, you go out in the pitch black night out in the woods, and I don't care how many cameras you have or people, the way these things seem to operate, it's a very difficult job. Now, we have some really, I think, good photos and some great video, considering the circumstances. I mean, it's not like going out to the county fair and taking night pictures, as you well know.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's, boy, if we could only be so lucky. Another quick question. You know, I heard kind of through the grapevine here about a year ago about a pretty disturbing event that according to this person, took place there, where an animal was found horribly disfigured and killed. And I do seem to recall some sort of structural damage that was done, I think, to a barn or to some corral configuration. Do you want to tell us about that, or can you?
Yes. One of the areas, a rancher had really a very expensive kind of a pet horse, and it was kept in a tubular steel corral. And every morning he would drive out to the ranch, and first thing he would go up to the corral and talk to the horse and pet it and so on. And he rode this horse quite often. But at any rate, this particular morning he went out and the horse was fine. He talked to the horse. I don't know if the horse had anything to say, but anyway, after they visited, he got in the pickup and he drove to another section of the ranch. 15 minutes or less, he comes back, and no horse in the corral. And one section of the tubular steel corral is pushed down to the ground outwardly from inside the corral. And he looks everywhere because this horse, if he got out, would stay right around the area, very, very tame. And so he's calling the horse, and he notices the old barn some distance from there. And he notices that the front door, large, heavy wooden door, is badly damaged and kind of pushed in and down a little bit. And he walks into the barn, and he said, you know, I found the horse. And he said it was in smears of blood and tiny horse pieces all over the interior, the walls, the ceiling, the floor. And he said it was just like the horse had exploded. And so how do you do that? How do you force a horse into, control it enough to get it inside a barn? And then what do you do to it to produce that kind of effect in less than 15 minutes?
Well, did he have a veterinary pathologist come out, or any sort of, was there any sort of investigation done with this? Were any samples taken of the animal?
No. I didn't learn of this. Happened in 2003. And this particular witness has been a great help, but he is very reluctant. The guy who owned the ranch before him was considered crazy, honestly crazy, by friends, relatives, and so on, because for years he talked about lights and beams coming out of them, and they would land and all this, and they just assumed he was nuts. And this now is kind of the epicenter of a lot of the observations. So the guy wasn't crazy. And so based on that, this rancher he says it over and over, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. Right. So he's very careful. Even with me, he trusts me because he knows I'm not going to identify him or the property. And eventually, over the years, the trust got to a much greater point. And I was talking to him one afternoon about animal mutilations, the cattle kind, and he said, well, I told you about my horse, didn't I? And I mean, he thinks in his mind that he told me, but he hadn't. And so this was about 5 years after it happened. And so he immediately took us to the barn, which is very close to falling down now. And we looked for anything that might have any kind of sample of anything.
I'll tell you what, we'll pursue that in a moment, Ted. We'll pursue that in a moment. We have Ted Phillips. We're talking about some of his investigations into trace evidence and other stuff regarding paranormal events in various parts of the U.S. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Hey neighbors, have you been thinking about starting a website? Well, I'm going to tell you about a great offer from HostGator. HostGator is a world-famous leader in web hosting, and they make it easy for you to get your own .com domain name. You create your very own website with their free site builder tools and great selection of templates. Use the coupon code Paracast. Once again, use the coupon code Paracast and sign up at this special address, theparacast.com/gator. That's Gator, theparacast.com/gator.
Fate magazine provides true reports of the strange and unknown. Keep up with the latest on angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, life after death, and much, much more. To receive your free issue of Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
How well and how fast does Heart and Body Extract work to improve blood circulation? Listen.
My name is Ellis, and I am 66 years old, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed as having clogged arteries. I had 70% blockage in one artery leading to my heart. They wanted me to go on Plavix, but I refused, knowing the negative side effects.
Heart and Body Extract is a unique balance, synergy, and proportion of herbs reaching from head to toe at maximum absorption around 95% at the cellular level.
Within the first month, I felt a dramatic difference. The heaviness in my legs was reduced, and within 2 months, I felt completely normal.
Your natural organic herbal formula for heart health is Heart and Body Extract. Heart and Body Extract comes with a 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Details at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract. Call 866-295-5305, 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract.
Where have all the military surplus stores gone? Don't worry, you don't need one, because everything you need at Military Surplus is at MaineMilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E Military.com, one of the last surviving true military surplus stores in the country. Go online now to MaineMilitary.com and discover a source for hard-to-find surplus items at true surplus prices. Surplus gun cleaning kits as low as $2.99. Complete chemical suits as low as $11.99. See our huge selection of gas masks, filters, and accessories. Finish at M10 gas masks are 3 for $30, and Swiss filters are 3 for $12. Searching for Strike Anywhere matches? MaineMilitary.com has them, plus a whole new product line of survival and first aid kits and lots more. Get free shipping on orders over $50 only at MaineMilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E Military.com, or call 877-608-0179, 877-608-0179. MaineMilitary.com, the main name in military supply.
When you hear the words water purification, what comes to mind? If it's Berkey Water Purification Systems, this message is for you. Did you know that over 60% of municipal water contains fluoride at less than 2 cents per gallon? Berkey water filters purify treated and untreated water, remove dangerous chlorine, fluoride, and contaminants from municipal water. These filters are powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water, making them perfect for rainwater collection systems. From the smallest to the largest systems, BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has what you need. With your system purchase, you'll receive a shower filter, a fluoride filter, or 2 sport Berkey bottles absolutely free. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com would like to offer GCN listeners 5% off all ceramic filter systems and ship all orders over $50 free of charge. Visit BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. Or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY today.
How do you spell hard-hitting talk radio? GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
You've entered another dimension. You've entered the Paracast.
Ted Phillips is our guest this week. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. And when we kind of interrupted you there, you were talking about some of your investigations. You want to pick up on that?
Yes. I had the guys go in the barn, and of course there was no visible residue of anything after 5 years. But we did take samples even of the wood in some of what looked like impact areas, and especially the doors and so on, because as you well know, 46 years of taking samples, that's really my big thing. And unfortunately, none of the samples produced anything of interest. And so I keep telling him it's very important to let me know, because on the team we have, as far as I'm concerned, the best vet in the country. And I didn't know this guy was a good friend, didn't know he was even interested in UFOs until about a year ago. And so he's at the ready to do some really good work. And also I've been approached by a microbiologist. He and I have become good friends, and he sent me a lot of DNA analysis equipment and so on, and for getting the samples, and a lot of information on how to do that properly. So we're waiting, and most of the other witnesses, if something happened to one of their animals, I would know it immediately. While they're standing there looking at it, they'd be on the cell phone.
I got to ask you a question here, Ted, before we go on. Marley Woods, you can't tell us exactly what the real name of this place is and where it's located, can you?
No.
Is there a reason for that? Is it privacy for the people who live there?
Yeah,
okay.
Because these folks don't want 100,000 people tearing the fences down to get in to try to see this stuff.
And also all the 24/7 cable news shows.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And when they went into Skinwalker Ranch in big time and brought in all kinds of people and equipment and buildings and everything, the observations almost totally stopped. And so I'm very concerned about any drastic changes in the environment there. As a matter of fact, when we go into the woods, trying to get into like what I call a light ball nest, we don't have flashlights on, very quiet, and don't park vehicles in any of these areas because you don't want to change anything there. And, we don't know enough about these things to know what they respond to. They do seem to be curious about vehicles. That's shown up, of course, down through the years with all kinds of vehicle cases. But in one instance, a family of 4 pulled into a little cemetery in the area, and it was the night before Halloween, and they wanted to scare the devil out of their kids. Well, one of the kids. They had 2 sons, 20 and 12, hopefully the 20-year-old wouldn't have been that frightened, but
that's mean.
Anyway,
we have a lot of people of that age group now who are going to be putting messages in our forums screaming at us.
Oh no, listen, I absolutely love people in that. I wish to God I was that age again, believe me. But, and I tell you what, studies have shown that people in the 17 to, I think it's 21 age group are absolutely the best witnesses to events that are out of the ordinary because they're able to retain more detail, they're more observant, and so on. So, having said that, to correct a wrong, these people had never seen anything and didn't expect to. They were absolute skeptics, but it's a good Halloween thing for the family, they thought. And they pulled their car into the cemetery, and they're there 20 minutes. Now, I've been over there. I was there 5 months before I saw anything. And 20 minutes, they see this small light coming from the north. And the wife had a very nice HD camera, and she immediately starts videotaping the object. And all in all, she got over 15 minutes of this stuff, and listening to their voices as they talked about what they were seeing is just marvelous audio. And so anyway, this thing came in, it cut all kinds of maneuvers. You can see it very clearly. And eventually then it shoots off to the northeast. And in a matter of 8.5 seconds, two objects come into view. And they said they were about basketball sized and bright as they show up on the video. And the two are very close to each other, one above the other. And taking the video frame by frame, you see these beautiful changes in color in each of the objects, different colors in each object, and a kind of faint veil or curtain will develop between the two. And then it disappears and it's just the two, and then it comes back. And for the first time ever, I've never seen detail like this in light ball imagery. You can very clearly see that it's like looking into an extremely bright light at the center, and on occasion you can see it as sort of a long bar of light, and a rectangular bar of light. And all around it is this cloud-like material that is constantly changing shape. And
like a plasma cloud.
Well,
some sort of plasma event.
I've not seen any really good video of a plasma cloud, but I don't think so. I think it would be quite different from what I know of the plasma responses. But and of course there was no sound. And of course, number one, you don't have, to my knowledge, an observation of a plasma display for 15 minutes and not being attached to anything. These things were about 40 feet above the ground. They reached a point 40 feet from the witnesses. And then a third red object, which was smaller, came into view, the most beautiful shades of red that you've ever seen. Very intense red center. They took cell phone photos, the 12-year-old, and which are incredibly sharp. And there is a little metal shed over a picnic bench, a very heavy wooden picnic bench, and they were just feet from it. And the red light comes down to within 3 feet or so of the northeast corner of the roof of this shed. And, it's open on the sides. And they hear an odd sound that they just couldn't figure out what was that, what would make that sound. And they also could hear footsteps in the gravel. And yet they couldn't see anything. And at one point, the 12 and 20-year-olds saw what looked like a dark silhouette of a very large animal like thing. And so all this is going on, and the two objects go over and stop by a large tree, and they're hovering stationary about 4 feet above the ground. And the husband's describing them as they're videotaping. He said, "Look at that, Debbie." He said, "It looks like a curtain, a white curtain or a white dress hanging there." And so anyway, this is the kind of stuff you can really get your teeth into, and the video is astounding. It really is.
Now, you've spent a total of, 12, 15 years there?
Pardon?
You've spent a number of years investigating this particular locale, right?
Yeah, December of 98, yeah.
Oh, boy. So we're talking about nearly 12 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I almost didn't go. One of the property owners called me in mid-December because he and his family had a really close, extraordinary observation. And then they started seeing this stuff on a regular basis. And he asked me if I'd come down and try to help them figure out what's going on. Well, I haven't done a very good job in 12 years, but and I almost...
You figure they get it right in another 15 years, right?
I'm not sure about that. But,
I'll tell you what, we'll pursue this in a moment. We have Ted Phillips. Ted Phillips has been spending nearly 12 years on site in this region, which he calls Marley Woods, to investigate numerous paranormal occurrences. My co-host this week is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you own an Apple iPhone and love to listen to your favorite programs on GCN, I've got good news for you. I'm proud to announce that GCN has a brand new iPhone app available for our dedicated listeners at GCNlive.com. Listen to your favorite hard-hitting GCN programs live or on demand right on your iPhone. And the best part, the GCN iPhone app can be yours absolutely free. Download the iPhone app today by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Our guest this week, Ted Phillips, who has spent many years investigating trace cases involving paranormal activity, concentrating for nearly 12 years on the Marley Woods case, located in the U.S. Our co-host this week is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Chris, you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, Ted, this sounds like one of those once-in-a-lifetime cases that really do deserve the amount of time that you've spent and the actual putting together a team, getting a budget, getting the kinds of gear together, and people to customize software, the type of approach that warms my heart. There's not enough people out there in the field that are going the extra mile to do the quality of work that you're doing. Now, you mentioned early on that we had some other parallels with the Sherman Ranch case in Utah, that were popularly known as the Skinwalker Ranch. Now, how about the animal death correlation? You mentioned this horrific event that occurred some years back in 2003. Have there been any attendant cattle mutilation cases or livestock death cases in the area? Has the ranch itself experienced these cases, or have you seen some sort of spillover into the, let's say, the farming and ranching community around this particular locale?
Mm-hmm. Well, as a matter of fact, there have been numerous cattle mutilations, and in one case, 4 Angus bulls were taken down, and that would be a pretty good task. I don't quite know how you would do that. But and there have been events 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, there were events involving horses, a herd of horses, and cattle, different ranches about 4 miles apart. One of the most interesting of these cases was 6 calves, and they were all in perfect health when the owner would leave the ranch. And this place is locked up. You don't drive in on it and do all that. And the people around the area watch very closely. If they don't know you, you're not going to get anywhere on any of the property. And I totally can understand that. Luckily, they know me. Yeah. But anyway, the 6 calves, over a period of 2 weeks, he would come out in the morning, and the mother would be standing there over the previously very healthy calf, which was reduced to skeletal remains, nothing inside the skeleton, nothing outside left, and no distension of the skeleton. In other words, nothing broke it apart or injured the skeletal structure. In each of the 6 cases, which were all repeats of that over a couple of weeks, there would be found a 10-foot depressed ring. And 10 foot seems to be the thing, the soup of the day for traces over there, because every one that I've seen measured an exact 10 feet circular, and with the central area not damaged. And as a matter of fact, I was over there, and one of the ranchers was cutting hay, and he comes up to the cabin and he says, "Well, you're going to hate me, Ted." He said, "I ran over a ring," and they're not always exactly a ring. Some of them are ovals, and some of them are depressed and swirled throughout, and some with the center still standing. This one was depressed throughout, and it made me depressed because he ran over it and cut it down. He couldn't get stopped in time. So the cattle stuff goes on, and the problem again is when something like that happens, the witness is reluctant. He wants to believe that he can take care of it himself somehow.
Yeah.
And so finally, recently, he told me, he said, please help me and help me find out how to stop this. So I think cooperation is going to allow us to really, I mean, he will tell me instantly about a light or if he finds tracks or something, but he's very sensitive about the animals that are killed. Yeah. And I can understand that. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I know very well how difficult it is to get ranchers to come forward in a timely manner. There is a stigma attached to these cattle deaths in the ranching community. I don't care who you are studying this. That's one thing that I think we'll both agree on. I'm sure he is aware the importance of you and the gear being on site in a timely manner so that we can.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about physical evidence here that we could glean all sorts of information from if we're told of the case. So,
yes.
I'm hoping for your sake and for the sake of moving this whole investigation forward, that the ranching community there in the area is aware of the real importance of the timely nature of being on site. Now, you mentioned these impressions, Ted. Structured craft. What sort of structured craft have been seen in the area, or is this something that has been reported? You're talking about rings that seem to indicate some sort of physical presence of nuts and bolts type phenomenon. What about structured craft?
Well, there are not a lot of reports of structured craft. Generally, they're brilliantly illuminated things. There have been several cases, in which deputies would see a bus-sized object, which was kind of a stubby cigar configuration, fly over very slowly and quietly and so on. And on one occasion, an object that 5 witnesses estimated to be 300 feet long was seen, and it was again a cylindrical thing, and the underneath was covered with gazillion tiny white lights, and the shape could be seen as it blocked out the stars. And it was a dark object, obviously, and I do have video of that. It doesn't show much, except that something really odd was there and big, because you can see the lights, but not a shape of the object. And the cool thing is, it appears first in the east, and it flies slowly over, not at a high altitude, and they watch it, and as it passes just to the west of the ranch, it suddenly splits in half. The one half continues moving along the trajectory, and the second half peels off to the left, to the south, and flies away to the south, and is seen by 4 more witnesses 20 miles south as it flies over their place, their farm. Now, that's some pretty weird stuff there.
Yeah.
And, and that many witnesses, and these are extremely reliable people. You see, not one, I have on file 224 witnesses and in this area, and not one has ever gone public. So you don't make up a bunch of big fat lies and keep them to yourself.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that goes a long way for credibility with me. And these are just people who are trying to get on with their lives, which in some cases are being very much disrupted by this stuff. And, so there is no question it's going on. And, it's the first place in 46 years of research that I've actually been able to see, objects that I couldn't identify. And so it's pretty important to me.
Yeah, well, it's really good that you're able to have a team that's going to be helping you monitor, because this sounds like a major full-time job for even a number of people. Now, you mentioned that recently there's been these appearances of what appear to be fantastic sort of animal forms. You want to get into that a little bit and give us an idea of what people are reporting?
I'll tell you what, Ted, let's do that and hold that for our next section. We'll talk about the strange animal scene in connection with what's going on at Marley Woods. Our guest this week is Ted Phillips. Co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
You are about to enter another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a sinister land of secret rites, passwords, initiations, and handshakes, where the truth remains hidden and history is controlled by an elite group of mysterious men. Imagine, if you will, that I'm holding a book in my hands that explains this secret history, and that the name of this book is Conspiracies and Secret Societies, the Complete Dossier. Here is described centuries of dark dealing, lies, murder, mayhem, and cover-ups in the pursuit of unimaginable money and power. My name is Brad Steiger, and the stories you are about to read may have actually happened at the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, Conspiracies and Secret Societies, the Complete Dossier.
Your natural organic herbal formula for heart health is Heart and Body Extract.
My name is Van, and I'm 68 years old, and I live in Vermont. In the spring of 2003, I started to have problems with my heart. It felt like my heart was pounding, made me feel breathless. I tried many different things to try to get some help for myself. Nothing did anything.
Heart and Body Extract is very powerful, very effective, and works quickly.
I saw one of Sharon's ads and ordered Heart and Body Extract. I noticed a difference quickly, within days. The episodes became less frequent, and by a month had completely vanished.
Usually you find a 30-day or 60-day guarantee. Heart and Body Extract comes with a lifetime 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Details at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. Call 866-295-5305. 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract.
Gold isn't for you? Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources, one of the world's premier gold and precious metal investing firms. I get it. You wouldn't buy gold if you believed that the government is doing a great job, that the Fed will stop handing out trillions of dollars like bailout candy, that Social Security would be there for you. That's not what's happening. You might even pass on gold if the stimulus package wouldn't fuel inflation, or that the dollar wouldn't lose value, or that your retirement would be secure. If all looks rosy to you, then now is not the time to buy gold. For the realists, there have never been more sobering reasons to diversify with gold. Since 2001, the U.S. dollar index has tanked 30%, while gold has risen 300%. Right now, savvy investors are adding gold to their portfolios. You should too. Find out what they know. Call us and I'll send you 10 reasons why gold will do very well. Free. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
If you suffer from poor sleep, you've got to try MyPillow. Introducing the most revolutionary, most comfortable, and coolest pillow ever, MyPillow. Imagine your very own custom-fit pillow. MyPillow is the only pillow of its kind on the market that uses a patented fill, custom-made to your exact individual needs. MyPillow is 100% made in the USA and has a natural built-in cooling effect that keeps your cervical nerves cool, and that helps you get the best REM sleep possible. MyPillow helps alleviate snoring, migraine, sleep apnea, and other sleeping disorders. MyPillow is antimicrobial, non-allergenic, dust mite resistant, machine washable and dryable, comes in many sizes and will not go flat. And best of all, MyPillow comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what do you have to lose except poor sleep? Go to MyPillowShop.com. Mention coupon code GCN and receive up to $40 off. That's MyPillowShop.com. Or call 952-442-6199. That's 952-442-6199. MyPillow, for the rest of your life.
Tired of searching for great talk radio? Search no more.
I just want to hear more of it.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com. Get in on all the action at forum.theparacast.com.
Our guest this week is Ted Phillips, co-host Chris O'Brien, who's been there himself and has done lots of on-scene investigations. He's not someone who just sits in the armchair and writes books about it. He writes the books and he does the research. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. So, Ted, as we broke for our last segment, we were asked a question about strange creatures seen in connection with the research into Marley Woods. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about Sasquatch things or like that? Or are we talking about maybe entities seen in connection with UFO cases?
Well, it's actually quite different from the Bigfoot things, which I've been really reluctant to accept as valid. I shouldn't be, I guess. You know, the main argument is, well, why don't we find traces of them? Well, tracks, footprints have been found, and I've seen a lot of casts, which are extremely interesting. But I wondered, as the years went by at Marley, why there are very few, if any, reports of humanoids, and which generally goes along, you know, over a period of years with this stuff. Well, they're starting. And which is one of the things that is very interesting to me.
Starting?
Starting, yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we've had a handful, not many, a handful of humanoid observations. I think probably the folks, the witnesses involved, would be even reluctant to tell me if they saw something human-like. I think more and more of them are becoming a little more comfortable as the reports come in. In other words, it's not just me. And, you know, if they can find some companionship in other witnesses, it makes them a little more comfortable. But first of all, the animal. It'll be 2 years ago this fall that one of the ranchers out watching his cattle herd saw two large white, as he described them, dogs. And I knew when he was telling me about it, it had to be something really odd because he's seen plenty of dogs. And he said, I said, well, what was odd about it? He said, well, they had really long white hair. And he said it was so long that it shifted as they took a step, and the color would change, kind of like an iridescent effect. And he said, and the size. And I said, well, how big? And he said, well, 400 pounds. And I said, this is a dog? And he said, 400 pounds. I have an old English sheepdog that's 150. And if she was 400, boy, that's a lot of animal. But so anyway, he takes a rifle, and he's afraid, since these things are so large and in the field of cattle, he might kill one or two or several. And so he shoots, and here we're coming back to the skinwalker business too. He shoots, and he said, I made it red. In other words, through the telescopic sight, he saw what looked like blood, an area turned red. But the animals, not the one that was hit or the other one, reacted to the shot or to the impact. They just kept casually walking. Eventually, they went through a fence and into the woods, and that was the end of that. He went down to the area, no blood on the ground at all, and he was using a powerful rifle. I mean, this would have done a lot of damage. And so the next day, another rancher, pretty close, reported that he had seen the same two, or what looked like the same two, and they were fine, and no sign of blood on them or anything. They were about 100 feet or a little more from him, and seemed to be in perfect condition. So then, all of a sudden, the ranch to the north starts finding large clumps of white hair. So they call me. I immediately go down. I take samples, and very, very odd, because of course, I used my old English sheepdog as a subject or victim, and by mutilating her fur and putting it along in the microscope with the other, and instantly even I could see it was dramatically different. And so I started gathering all kinds of fur from all kinds of little creatures, and I did not harm any of them. And I did the same microscopic observations. Nothing matched, including a human hair, this stuff. Then a disc jockey on a radio station comes on the air, and he's in that area, and he says, I just saw something that I can't believe, and I know you won't. He said, I saw a 400 or 500 pound white animal, and I just thought it was the biggest dog I'd ever seen in my life until it stood up on its back feet. And he said it looked, the only thing I could describe it as would be a polar bear. And he said long, long white hair and all this. But he said the head looked really different. And I haven't been able really to get a good description of the head from any of the people that have seen it. Two friends of the wife and I were driving down one of the roads there. And in the middle of the road, they see what they estimated to be a 500 pound or more large white dog-like thing, except the head looked different, and standing in the middle of the road. And he slams on the brakes. They slide up to within about 20 feet of it. Good view. And he said it turned its head and looked at them. And they just kind of mellowed out. They said, you know, it was at ease. And all of a sudden it jumped from the middle of a 24-foot road over the 12-foot lane that they were in, over a ditch alongside the road, and landed on the embankment on the other side. And there was a woven wire fence. It didn't go over it, it didn't go through it, but it was no longer there. And believe it or will you, we actually have a photograph of the thing taken by the one of the rancher's daughters and her husband in daylight. And I got to tell you, it's pretty strange.
I'll tell you that before we go on, let me ask you a fast question here before we split for our brief break. Do you have a copy of this photograph on display that we could see it?
No, I don't yet. Right now, I have a new website in the works, which should be up in about 2 weeks. And I'll be putting a lot of this stuff on it, including photographs of the tracks, plaster casts of the tracks, And the tracks in themselves are amazing because they're huge compared to any known animal living in that area or in the U.S. And they went into the ground an inch and a half, and which indicated a pretty terrific amount of weight. One of the ranchers found a trail of the tracks on ice across a 200-foot pond. It walked directly across the pond, and it looked like in the tracks that it had slipped going down the embankment outside the pond.
At least it's not superhuman. At least it's not superhuman. And we'll look at this creature case in a moment. Trace evidence researcher Ted Phillips joining us this week. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
When you hear the words water purification, what comes to mind? If it's Berkey Water Purification Systems, this message is for you. Did you know that over 60% of municipal water contains fluoride at less than 2 cents per gallon? Berkey water filters purify treated and untreated water, remove dangerous chlorine, fluoride, and contaminants from municipal water. These filters are powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water, making them perfect for rainwater collection systems. From the smallest to the largest systems, BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has what you need. With your system purchase, you'll receive a shower filter, a fluoride filter, or 2 sport Berkey bottles absolutely free. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com would like to offer GCN listeners 5% off all ceramic filter systems and ship all orders over $50 free of charge. Visit BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. Or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY today.
If you owe money to the IRS, you can't make the problem go away by yourself. But with the help of Dan Pilla, you can get your problem solved once and for all.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. For 30 years, I've helped thousands of people solve their tax debt problem, and I can help you solve yours too. We take a very simple but proven 3-step approach to solving your problem. First, we stabilize IRS collection actions so you don't have to worry about the IRS seizing your bank account or paycheck. Next, we build a comprehensive plan to get your tax debt reduced to the fullest extent possible, sometimes even completely eliminated. And finally, we work with you every step of the way to get your problem solved once and for all. Call us for a free consultation. Call 1-800-346-6829. We'll work together to get your problem solved, guaranteed.
Dan Pilla has been protecting taxpayers from the IRS for 3 decades, and he can help you too. Call us today at 800-346-6829. That's 800-34-NO-TAX.
Thousands of Americans are facing evacuation. If you or any of your loved ones might need to evacuate, you must do it yourselves. Please don't procrastinate until they do it for you. Remember the terrible conditions of those that didn't get out for Katrina. Go right now to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633 for information on the new Evacuation Pack. It contains 2 weeks of delicious, easy-to-fix food, along with the equipment to prepare it. It's packed in a rugged, heavy-duty tote for transport. Evacuations are looming with the storms and the Gulf oil catastrophe. No matter where you live, wildfires, earthquakes, floods, and storms must be escaped. Don't be like a deer frozen in the headlights of oncoming disaster. At least prepare yourself with this 2-week evacuation pack from efoodsdirect.com. Call 800-409-5633. On the web, efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
10 years. A decade of talk. Great talk radio is here on the Genesis Communications Network.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. Ted Phillips talking about strange cases of strange creatures. Chris, you want to pick up on that with him?
Yeah, this is pretty amazing stuff, Ted, especially with photographic evidence and physical trace evidence of a huge, oversized, almost, I don't know, I wouldn't know how to describe a creature that you have been describing. It almost sounds like the Skinwalker ranch event where the rancher had this large, oversized wolf that tried to grab one of his calves through a fence, and he at one point, I think he shot it a number of times.
And the important point in that one, Chris, is he didn't just shoot it. He shoved a .357 mag into the side of the thing and shot 3 times.
Right.
And there was no blood. There was no real reaction, like jumping in the air or making any screams. But he did turn loose the cow's head. That was a good thing. And as it walked off from him, he, his wife, and their grown son all saw this. And as it walked away from him, he got a .30-06 rifle and shot it a couple of more times with, as in the white animals at Marley, no reaction by the animal, but it was leaving tracks in the light snow. And they follow the tracks into a grove of trees, and they go on out into a field. They go out into the field about 30 feet and end. So, we're not dealing with any kind of normal animal.
No.
Just the description, and I have received 3 different witnesses. Well, actually, it would come to 8 witnesses in the 3 events of seeing this thing walking upright. And the tracks bear that out. One of the ranchers has hunted and has seen just about every kind of animal from here to Alaska. And I was at one end of the trail of tracks. He was at the other, and I said, "Do you see anything a little odd about these tracks?" And he looks and he looks and he says, "This thing was on 2 feet." And I said, "Yeah." So I don't know. I'm not saying it's a white Bigfoot or anything like that, but when you've got a photograph in daylight and all the tracks and the hair and all this, pretty interesting stuff.
What do you think is going on here, Ted? I know that's a $64 million question, but in the case of the Skinwalker Ranch, for instance, Terry Sherman and his family on numerous occasions observed what they described as an aperture-like opening about 40 feet that would would open from the center and then create this what appeared to be an opening in the sky fairly close to the ground. Do you have any sort of descriptions from witnesses in the area of a similar type of phenomena?
Absolutely, and I'm totally overwhelmed when I see things starting to happen that happened and are happening at Skinwalker. There is what the owner calls the North Mystery Light, and this is an oval, orange, amber light source, very smooth, very sharp edges, and it's elongated to the horizontal, and it appears down at the treetops in this very same spot. Sometimes it'll appear just one night, and then it's a week or weeks, 2 nights in a row, 4 nights in a row, and then it's weeks. But I have seen and photographed this thing a number of times. It's been reported, it's been observed for 117 times. This thing, looking at it through binoculars, is precisely like the guy at Skinwalker described. If you remember, it would appear in exactly the same spot, and he would go to the same tree stump, brace his arm on that tree stump, and look at it through the telescopic sight on a rifle. And he could see in this what looked like blue sky and trees or some sort of terrain like he was looking into another world. And I haven't seen that in the mystery light, but every time I look at it, I'm expecting to. And there is, on the opposite side, to the south of the same area, a tremendously brilliant white light that comes on. And we've observed that for several times for up to an hour and a half. And we've tried to approach it. And the one rancher would watch, and he would see our headlights come on to another property 0.8 of a mile away, and he'd say, okay, you're 600 or 800 feet from it to the side. And we couldn't see it. And this thing was so bright that it totally wiped out the light monitoring system on my camcorder 0.8 of a mile away. And it had to reboot, for a better term, because this was so tremendously bright. And it turned the most intense red you've ever seen at the peak of brilliance. So we went everywhere up there, and he would guide us, and we would get almost to the object, and he'd say, it's starting to move. And it would move away. And this went on and on. And so I said, well, let's get back to the cameras, and if we know we can get shots, let's be sure we're getting them, because the camcorder was still running over at the original site. And on the video, you can, frame by frame, see the changes. You can see the silhouettes of tree trunks in front of it. And I obtained one photograph that shows this kind of vertical brilliance, and behind it, one thing you could only describe as like a dome that's on the ground behind these trees, and the dome is made up of quite a number of oval amber lights, and this thing is large, and it looks to me like a structured craft with this brilliant light on whatever section is aiming south or north. And so I have a feeling, and Chris, you know, I would be one to be reluctant to talk about portals, but you got to go where the data points.
It sure sounds like something's opening up, and similar to the Sherman Ranch case, that you're dealing with some sort of doorway. It's almost like the Sherman Ranch decided to move to Missouri.
Well, either that or it has a brother or something.
Yeah.
I back to the big animal. You're asking, you know, what is it and why? And the more I'm convinced, strange for me to say, but the more I'm convinced that these portals, openings, exist, my belief now is, based on the facts, as I can see them, that these things open up, obviously I would guess, to allow things to come through or to go into, to make a connection to God only knows where. And sometimes if they're open up, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours, why couldn't something from that point of origin just kind of stumble through?
Right.
And so you see
through
pretty odd things.
Or crawl through like the physicist allegedly saw up at in Utah, where it appeared to be a humanoid form that kind of crawled and lurched through the opening. Ted, this is probably, I think, this and the Sherman Ranch case and a couple of cases that I investigated sound to be real important keystone cases. And I'm you know, I think I speak for our audience when I say we really admire and appreciate all the hard work that you're putting in on this particular case. Having been there and done that, so to speak, in the field, I know that it just takes a tremendous amount of time and organization to do this type of work.
I'll tell you what, we'll pick up on this work and some of the other implications in a moment. Our guest is Ted Phillips. He is a UFO and paranormal trace evidence investigator. He's seen, obviously, quite a few unusual things. The co-host, Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy. A thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition."
You've seen our SinoFresh banner on the GCN website.
Yet your sinusitis is still a problem.
Are you waiting for your sinusitis to go away by itself?
Are you waiting for a SinoFresh discount?
Okay, here it comes.
But first, the facts.
67 other products merely treat symptoms.
And not the cause of sinus problems.
And 37 million Americans suffer from sinus distress just like you. But now many are finding relief with the only patent-protected homeopathic nasal product that antiseptically eliminates the known causes of sinusitis. SinoFresh.
Now, here's your limited-time discount offer to use SinoFresh.
Call 888-906-3636 right now for $2 off per bottle when you mention GCN. That's it. Just call 888-906-3636 and mention GCN for a $2 discount.
But hurry, this offer is only for the first 1,000 customers.
Call 888-906-3636. 888-906-3636. Call right now for $2 off per bottle.
Mention GCN.
Buy SinoFresh.com. It works.
You worry, but only because you're paying attention. What's happening in the Gulf of Mexico illustrates an audacity toward nature. A similar audacity called GMO, or genetically modified organisms, means that the quality of commercially grown food may be compromised with our health in the balance. Now that summer's here, what better time to learn about the bounty that nature provides in wild edible food? Let author Linda Runyon show you the best-kept secret in plain sight, that food is everywhere you look. This summer, for the cost of a good meal or two out, you can literally starvation-proof yourself and your loved ones against any future craziness, and put up tons of free food, too. Whatever experiment is being run on us, you can rest assured that Linda's 50 or so staple foods aren't involved. Our foods are their enemy. So go to ofthefield.com or call toll-free 1-888-51-EAT-FREE and take that first step. Make your oasis of food security and nutrition now. That's OFTHEFIELD.com or call 1-888-513-2837. Start now and make 2010 your year of independence.
Question. What would you rather drink? Acidic water, which burns holes in your body and causes loss of bone mass? Or alkaline water, which promotes high energy and vibrant health? The answer is clear. And if you're drinking acidic water, you're helping cancer cells and bacteria to grow out of control. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops combine a unique formula of the most alkaline minerals. Using Plasma pH Drops is the best way to alkalize your water and help you get rid of acid and regain your health and energy. Simply put 10 drops in the water you drink to raise the pH to a healthy alkaline level. Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. Disease organisms like bacteria, viruses, or cancer cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops now by going directly to alkavision.com. That's ALKAvision.com. Or by calling 269-409-1776. Again, 269-409-1776.
Tired of searching for great talk radio?
There's a wide range of stuff on here.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
You're in the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
We return with Ted Phillips. We're looking over the strange events over at Marley Woods, somewhere in the U.S. We're not saying where because of privacy and confidentiality, but lots of weird stuff's going on there. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Earlier, Ted, you were talking about humanoids seen in that particular region. Okay, let's talk about humanoids. What precisely are we talking about here? UFO grays, human beings, cavemen from the Geico commercials, what?
Well, I expect to see some of those eventually.
Especially the cavemen from the Geico commercial, because it failed as a TV show, so we've got to bring them back.
Absolutely. Good guys. But I like their presence. Anyway, initially, the humanoid thing, which again now is not big there yet, but I have a feeling, a lady who ran a daycare center out in the woods, well, she didn't live in the woods, but her house was way out in the wooded area. And one of the kids was out in the yard playing with a basketball, and this was daylight, and he sees a very tall, thin humanoid go over a fence, 6-foot fence, didn't jump, he just kind of floated over the thing in one step, and came down on the other side. He stood there and looked at the kid, and the figure had a black sort of cloak and a black hood, which is kind of odd for the summer in the woods. It would be pretty uncomfortable. But the thing walks right up to the kid, takes the basketball, and turns around and heads for its way back. Well, the kid's just screaming, not afraid of the thing, but mad. And so the lady comes out, she grabs a shotgun, and she said, I hit it. I had to. So that shotgun doesn't miss. And it didn't even react. It floated over the fence and went on back into the woods. And then another report comes along from a good friend of mine over there that I would believe about anything. He was walking home and from a friend's house, about a quarter of a mile, and he sat down on a rock to have a cigarette, and he sees very quietly passing 10 feet in front of him a group of these tall, thin figures with the black cloaks and so on, and they were walking in a line and just walked in front of him, didn't react to him being there or anything, and they walked on down a little path and were gone. And so anyway, I talked to the lady with the shotgun, very solid person. She filed a report with the sheriff, and sheriff said, you know, she's a reliable person. And so nothing else really happened with the humanoids until January the 15th of this year. And I had the distinct pleasure of kind of seeing one. And I'm not really saying anything more than that about it right now because it involves a personal observation, and I want to be damn sure that I've got everything straight before I say it is or it is not.
You know, I want to ask you one thing that occurs to me with all this. Now, it seems they're oblivious to anything that's going on around them.
Exactly.
By the same token, because of maybe the emotional furor in that area over weird things happening, could they just be normal people putting on hoods and playing around, trying to fool people?
Well, you know, I would agree with that, and that was my first thought until I saw the shotgun. And believe me, the distance from the lady who was on the porch to the point where this figure was at when she shot it, it without question should have been a mutilated humanoid.
Should have been an ex-humanoid.
Sure would have reacted to the shotgun blast.
An ex-humanoid, you're saying?
Yeah, very definitely an X. There would have been a lot of physical evidence.
Yeah, but plus, what about the basketball? I mean, if that's not a trickerish event, I don't know, what is. Why would a tall, thin, hooded, cloaked humanoid float over a 6-foot fence, walk up to a kid playing with a basketball, take the basketball, turn around, and leave?
Yeah, I'd like to have an answer to that.
It's a pickup game, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you know they're from the hood? And this is a pickup basketball game. I'm sorry, I just had to do that.
It sure sounds like the trickster to me. I don't know. And if there's groups of trooping tricksters, I think that's even more amazing.
Okay, can we get all the features described here, do we just see the hoods and the tall, thin beings that are human-like, or do they have 5 fingers, et cetera, et cetera? Can we see those details?
Well, that was the problem with this good friend. He was sitting in the dark, and he could see the figures go by, but he couldn't really see any details. And the kid and the shotgun lady just simply said couldn't see a face. And so that doesn't necessarily mean there was nothing in the cloak, but I'll tell you, one thing that I've seen in great abundance down through the 46 years with trace cases and other cases is that you're talking about like a trickster. And I have seen a lot of things that we would consider tricks being played on the witnesses. And I've also seen displays, very strange displays, on the part of whatever this is to, in my mind, maintain some sort of control over the reactions of the owners of the property. I mean, that was pretty obvious in Skinwalker. I've seen it in Marley. And you do something so extreme that the witness has to be really set back on his heels and somewhat frightened. So I think there's a method for the madness. And since I don't know who they are or where they're from exactly, there are a lot of questions that I cannot yet answer. Now, if in the future we can disable a light ball or figure out some way to pin down a humanoid or a 500-pound animal, we'll be able to tell you something definitive. It's just like this whole business. It's always just beyond your fingertips.
What about speech? Do the humanoids make any effort to communicate by speech, telepathy, something?
No, not in the Marley stuff, no.
Okay. Now, do you see in your research this kind of being in other so-called window or portal areas around the country?
Well, I can recall, I couldn't pull up the specific cases, but I have on file in some of the trace cases back through the years, this is a long period, of very tall, like 7 foot, thin, human-like beings in the dark shrouds and so on. Yeah, I have ran across those cases. They're not plentiful.
No, there were some.
And I really never paid a lot of attention to them, really.
Yeah, there were some in the 70s. Keith Wolverton, the sheriff up in Montana, had a couple of cases where hooded, dark hooded figures were seen around cattle mutilation sites. David Perkins. Really? Yeah. Of course, you're not going to see that mentioned in the NIDS report that they released on the Montana wave of cattle death cases. But David Perkins also, I think it was south of Pueblo, between Pueblo and Walsenburg, witnessed a line of what he called like hooded monks walking along right in an area where mutilated cattle had been reported. This sounds, if you had said that they were holding Bibles and then chanting and hitting themselves in the forehead like in the Monty Python movie, that would almost make more sense to me than just walking by in the dark and not acknowledging the presence of the witness or walking up and taking a basketball. This is pretty. This is getting into some cross-phenomenal type events that seem to be related because of the proximity of the events, but don't really make any sense in terms of what other types of things are being spotted. What's your thinking on this, Ted? I mean, you've been there, you've done that, you've got what it sounds like some groundbreaking physical evidence and visual evidence. What does your gut tell you or suggest to you is going on there?
I'll tell you what, before we get to gut feelings, we have to break for the hour and then maybe clean our guts as we get ready for this. Ted Phillips, UFO trace evidence researcher. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast for one more hour.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you own an Apple iPhone and love to listen to your favorite programs on GCN, I've got good news for you. I'm proud to announce that GCN has a brand new iPhone app available for our dedicated listeners at GCNlive.com. Listen to your favorite hard-hitting GCN programs live or on demand right on your iPhone. And the best part? The GCN iPhone app can be yours absolutely free. Download the iPhone app today by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out on iTunes.
Ted Phillips joins us. We're talking about physical evidence, real evidence of strange things going on, mostly at Marley Woods. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. And in our last hour, Chris posed a question. What do you make of all this, Ted Phillips? Tell us.
Well, what I make of it is that we're looking at something that is real and physical some of the time. And it seems that it can change frequency or whatever and become entirely something else. And I saw, for example, on one of the monitors, a humanoid figure come up to a gate and seen very clearly. And it had on some sort of a tight-fitting cover that had a white cuff, would be the only way I could describe it, at the end of the arm sleeves. And it had a white, tight-fitting sort of helmet, and the face area was just black. And I watched this thing for, about 8 minutes, and as it stood there, it was still like walking in place. You could see, I couldn't see the legs because it had came up an incline, and it was standing where the legs were still below the bottom of the fence. But you could tell by the upper body motion that it was still walking. And the fence was 60 feet from me. And so I called the wife on the phone. I don't know why, like she's going to be able to see it, but and described it to her. And I said, I'm going to walk out and get a really close look at it. Well, she wasn't too much up for that, but she couldn't stop me 300 miles away. So I took the 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun and ambled out into the darkness, and I walked up to the point where this thing was standing, and there was nothing. And I looked all around, there was nothing. And I went back to the monitor, and it was there. And I did this several times. And the really bizarre thing is, and it makes one kind of feel like not even talking about a case like this, was that when I did the playback on the video, I thought, boy, I've got you now. And there was nothing on the video.
Wow. So the live feed, the figure was there,
yeah.
But it wasn't being recorded. And when you went out there, yeah. It didn't seem to be there either.
No.
Was there any sort of footprints or any indication that something had been standing there or moving there?
No, and you know me, that's the first thing I'd really dig around for. But here's the thing that makes me feel a little better about my sanity is the fact that, for example, Skinwalker, I have it from very good authority that they would be standing there and they'd put on like Generation 3s, and there would be a humanoid figure 10 feet in front of them. and without that, they couldn't even see them. And things would walk by, very unusual things, 5 feet away and not react to them at all, as though they didn't even know they were there. So I don't know. I think we must have a light frequency thing going on, or a dimensional thing.
Yeah, some sort of parallel reality almost meshing together and sort of overlapping.
Yeah, and I can't believe I just said that, tell you the truth. But
yeah, that's
always been the thing.
You're about as nuts and bolts a guy as I've ever met out in this field, and it's interesting to hear that your thinking is evolving or de-evolving depending on your point of view. Now, one question I really wanted to ask was, how about patterns? One of the things that I've always been fascinated by is patterning of these types of events. Do you notice any sort of correlations in terms of time? Let's say days of the week, times of the year. You've been out there now 12 years. You've amassed an incredible amount of data. Have you analyzed that data to suggest that there's any sort of frequency trends that are occurring? In other words, what I like to try to do is identify particular time periods so that I can be then out in the field, hopefully with the agenda of capturing some of the stuff more up close. How about you?
Absolutely. I did, for example, on the 4,000 plus trace landing cases, I have graphed those things out. I've looked for all kinds of patterns. And in the trace landings, there are a lot of statistically high patterns. Time, month, year, locations, that really stand out. And what's being done with Marley right now is a very dear friend of mine of 40 years is currently, as we speak, working up the statistical stuff, and he's the man to do it. People that know me, I think, would pretty well know who I'm talking about, but I can't give his name.
Could you have him do the same thing for my database?
Yeah, this guy, this is the man, no kidding. And he's been there and is truly fascinated by it. And but I have done, I've ran just about every kind of chart on the various types of occurrences that I can. And the problem is, back through the 12 years, there was such an enormous statistical hole because, for example, when I wasn't there, you had a few people who would watch, but at about 10 o'clock in the evening, they were off to bed. So between 10 and sunrise, there is an enormous observational hole. Now we're filling that, but I just don't have enough data yet. I do know that, for example, some of the ranchers would get up before sunrise to do chores, and almost always they would see something, a large amber, one of the larger whites, a light ball. And if the caretaker on some of the ranches who's there all the time, but they're generally afraid to go out after dark now. But if nature called at 2 or 3 in the morning, almost invariably, they would see something. So it's a matter of having the eyeballs 24/7.
Well,
and we have had
having those 8 cameras set up is sure going to help that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we have had, for the very first time, which is a big thrilling thing for me, a daylight observation of one of the small light balls, and by one of the owners and his adult daughter, not a great distance away in the woods, and it was one of the gold-colored baseball-sized jobs. And but anytime you can get a start of something like a daylight light ball, I mean that's marvelous, because you need to then be more aware in the daytime, because the stuff obviously is going on. And but as far as what and why, I'm telling you, we've had a lot of long discussions about that. the thing that interests me is that if I can ever get close enough to try to communicate with a humanoid, you can bet I'll do it. And but what is fascinating is back in the 70s, I investigated a physical trace case up in Iowa. And family, the mother and her two grown sons, look out the upstairs window and they see this pretty good size object, metallic object, hovering about 10 feet from an upstairs window. And they watched it through their window, and they could see two figures, just kind of normal human type.
I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the humanoids and the figures in our next segment. We have Ted Phillips. Co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Hey neighbors, have you been thinking about starting a website? Well, I'm going to tell you about a great offer from HostGator. HostGator is a world-famous leader in web hosting, and they make it easy for you to get your own .com domain name. You create your very own website with their free site builder tools and great selection of templates. Use the coupon code Paracast. Once again, use the coupon code Paracast and sign up at this special address, theparacast.com/gator. That's Gator. Theparacast.com/gator. For 58 years, Fate has provided true reports of the strange and unknown. Fate brings you the latest in all aspects of the paranormal, like angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, and much, much more. To receive your complimentary Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Again, the Congressional Budget Office sounds the alarm. This time warns of Greek-style U.S. debt crises. You heard me right. The GAO is drawing a parallel between the U.S. economy, its debt, and the current Greek economic meltdown. With the debt-to-GDP chart climbing into unfamiliar territory, the growing budget deficit will rise to unsupportable levels. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. The Federal Debt and Risk of Financial Crises document the CBO has published is a must-read for every American, covering the risk of continued deficit spending coupled with an aging population and the rising interest rates spell economic disaster. It's imperative that you get a copy of this document and study it for yourself. Call me today at 800-686-2237, and I'll send you a free copy. Again, call 800-686-2237 and ask for your copy of the CBO document. Once again, you need to read this government report. Call 800-686-2237.
Of the 3 million plus edible food plants that grow on Earth, no other single plant can compare with the nutritional value of the powder, seeds, and oil of the hemp plant. At hempusa.org, we ship worldwide these nutritional products with free shipping to the U.S. and Canada. At hempusa.org, we want to educate our listeners that edible hemp is not marijuana and is certified THC-free. Our powder is 50% protein and does not contain gluten. Gluten impairs the cells from absorbing nutrients. This nutrient-dense food can be stored up to 5 years when vacuum-packed and is priced affordably to be used as a storable food. HempUSA.org is a bulk shipper starting with 5 pounds and up. To allow this food to work for you, call 908-691-2608 or go to hempusa.org and order today. The body will react and heal itself given the proper nutrition. This superfood will be your greatest asset. So try it today, store it today, and change your life. Call 908-691-2608 or order from hempusa.org.
9 years, thousands of clients worldwide, amazing results. And here's more proof of the effectiveness of how Heart and Body Extract supports good circulation and healthy arterial flow.
My name is Crystal. I'm a 45-year-old and live in Houston, Texas. I was diagnosed with having mitral valve prolapse 10 years ago. My cardiologist said surgery and drugs was the only thing he could offer me.
What did Crystal do?
I ordered Heart and Body Extract in August 2006. When I first took my first 15 drops, I embraced the formula. and could even feel the goodness of the formula starting to work.
Clean, clear arteries are happy arteries after using Heart and Body Extract. Learn more at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. That's hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. HB Extract comes with a 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Details at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
This is the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
Ted Phillips joins us. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. Ted, before we broke for our last segment, you talked about the second-story UFO with 2 humanoids inside. Did they look like Greys? What did they look like?
Well, they said they looked like any other person. I mean, they look perfectly normal, normal proportions, no giant heads or fins or anything. And they seemed to be working on a panel of something that it was sloped down, they couldn't see. And on a couple of occasions, they said the figures looked right at them, but there was no real reaction on their part. And so this went on for quite a long period of time. Finally, the object ascends vertically and, of course, is out of sight over the top of the window. When they ran outside, below the point where the object had been, the grass was totally dehydrated, grass and soil. All moisture was sapped out of it, which is very typical. A sort of a microwave EM effect to dehydrate and destroy all plant life that it's exposed to. And there was a small tree below where this thing had been. It had died. It would die within a week. And but the real clue in this thing, and back in the 70s, I let a lot of this go by me because I was looking for physical stuff. They went downstairs, and as they were walking by the kitchen, plates started flying off the table. Things started flying off the shelves. So that's what we typically call poltergeist activity. And that had never happened in this house before. The mother had lived there for many years. And it continued for weeks after the thing had been there. Well, wow. I should have seen it for what it was, but again, I was looking for something I could pick up and didn't want to get into the realm of ghosts and like that. But I've got to tell you, down through the years, I've encountered that sort of stuff. I've been very cautious not to talk a lot about it because, you know, I worry about credibility, and it's becoming more difficult to hold that credibility up. But you got to go where this stuff takes you, you know, exactly. And you'd be a fool not to do it.
You know, that's one thing we want to mention here too. A lot of people, even those involved in UFO research, they want it physical. They want a physical spaceship, a physical entity, a physical trace on the ground. And as soon as it gets a little ephemeral, a little bit less than physical, they just can't take it anymore. But as you say, you have to follow where the evidence takes you. And how do you emotionally cope with the fact that maybe some of your assumptions about what you were expecting to see aren't quite what the reality is?
Oh, boy. Yeah, you hit it on the head there. In all the cases, you know, again, another statistical pattern in the trace landing cases was the objects. Described generally, as you know, as metallic and 18 feet, 30 feet, and landing on structured legs and leaving behind footpad marks and all that. And, of course, that's what I was expecting to see. And the first actual sighting that I had was 5 months after going to Marley, 5 months of seeing nothing. And one of the owners and I are standing there, and its sun is just set. The sky is still nice and bright. And in the Northeast, he says, there they are. And I look up, and there are 3 amber, what we call ambers, in a row. Nice, neat, horizontal row. They're not moving. No wings, no engines, no balloons hold them up, no parachutes. They're just hanging there and silent. And that's the thing that impacts you, I think, the most. How the hell are they staying in the air? And yet, you can see them perfectly clearly. And then a 4th one comes on, more to the east. And then the 5th one came on to the south of that one. And it was closer. It was much closer. It was perhaps 800 feet above the ground and 600 feet or so away out over the field. Again, no visible means of support, and no sound, no motors running. And I'm just truly astonished. It was something I was not at all ever expecting to see, even though I'd heard the reports from these witnesses. And I have to tell you, it was amber, and it was elongated to the vertical. And it looked to be, if I was guessing, I would say at that distance it was probably 12 feet high, maybe 8 feet wide. And it was full of the amber light, which is very soft and yet very bright. And it had a dark purple-blue band around the edges, starting at the top, coming around the bottom, back up to the top, but it was not across the top. A U-shaped band around it. And as I'm standing there watching it, and I'm still way super into the physical stuff, but my brain is telling me that something could come through that. And I, to this day, don't know why I was thinking that, but nothing ever did. And the way the things disappear is incredible, because now these are substantially large things that you're looking at. And when they disappeared, it's like an old camera lens with the shutter closing. And in other words, they seem to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then they're gone. And I was very lucky. I was standing there with the video camera running, pointed at the ground for 1 minute and 37 seconds. And that's how stunned I was by what I was seeing.
Oh,
I got a real good... Yeah.
You have a really good picture of the ground, but not of the thing that was flying.
Oh, God.
Well, if it had been a metallic disc with little guys crawling all over it, I'd have been fine. I'd been taping that because it was something I would be expecting. And fortunately, 3 guys drive up in a pickup truck and roll the window down. They said, "Did you see those things?" So that made me feel a lot better, too. There were 5 witnesses. So, but I was very fortunate. One morning I had the cameras rolling, and just before sunrise. And I was talking to one of the guys on the team and looking east, and for some reason I just shifted my body a little bit to the left, and right behind his head, one of the big white objects. And I said, "Look at this." And by the time he spun around, it was gone. So I run up to the DVR, and I started doing some playback, and I got this thing. And I'm telling you, I have looked at that video, I couldn't guess how many times, because it shows how they appear and how they disappear.
I'll tell you what, we'll get into that video, and I'm going to ask about whether we could see him. That would be very nice. We have Ted Phillips, UFO landing trace investigator. Our co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Freudian phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Question: what would you rather drink? Acidic water, which burns holes in your body and causes loss of bone mass, or alkaline water, which promotes high energy and vibrant health? The answer is clear. And if you're drinking acidic water, you're helping cancer cells and bacteria to grow out of control. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops combine a unique formula of the most alkaline minerals. Using Plasma pH Drops is the best way to alkalize your water and help you get rid of acid and regain your health and energy. Simply put 10 drops in the water you drink to raise the pH to a healthy alkaline level. Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. Disease organisms like bacteria, viruses, or cancer cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops now by going directly to alkavision.com. That's ALKAvision.com. Or by calling 269-409-1776. Again, 269-409-1776.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup, insurance, and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365.
Now you can purify the water and filter the air in your entire house for less. Keep listening for discount information from airandaqua.com. Airandaqua.com has everything from whole house air and water purification systems to air conditioners, shower filters, water testing kits, atmospheric water generators, and much more to keep you and your family healthy. Now, airandaqua.com has developed 2 value-packed money-saving packages. Package 1, the Pure Whole Home Water Package. It includes 3 very important elements to purify the water in your whole house. Package 2, the Whole Home Air Package, with an ultraviolet light system that kills 99.9% of airborne bacteria and viruses. Get more details on both of these air and water filter packages at airandaqua.com or call 866-380-AQUA. That's 866-380-2782. GCN listeners use promo code GCN for an 8% discount. Go to airandaqua.com. That's airandaqua.com. Purify your life today.
Tired of searching for great talk radio?
And I think it really does make a difference.
We are the GCN Radio Network.
You've entered another dimension. You've entered the Paracast.
We return with Ted Phillips. He raised some very fascinating questions, maybe a few hackles in the last segment. I'm Gene Steinberger in the Paracast. Our co-host, who's been there himself on the scene investigating lots of strange stuff, is Chris O'Brien. And before we turn back to Chris, I wanted to ask you, okay, it's on the DVR. When, pray tell, can we see this and other pictures?
Well, as soon as I get the aforementioned website going, my nephew, which generally it's not a good approach to have your nephew build a website, but this guy does it for a living. And he's going to give me a pretty high-tech setup, which I won't know anything about, but I can ask questions. And there will be video clips, including this one, of some of the stuff going on, along with some really cool still photos. And I think it'll be of interest. I'm going to post a lot of the trace cases and a lot of the Marley stuff on there. So, as I say, that should be up and running in a couple of weeks. And I'll shoot you an email and let you know how to find it.
Is this going to be the same site that you've had up till now, or is it going to be a totally different URL?
No, it'll be totally different, yeah.
Okay, we'll have that up as soon as we get the information. This show will be heard on August 1st. Chris?
Yeah, Ted, one thing that we have kind of failed to mention, I did sort of refer to the absolute massive volume of cases that you have documented over the years. What's your running total up to now about?
The current total is 887 events reported.
How about the trace case database?
The trace cases right now are at 4,491.
And that has been in approximate time period now, or that we're talking about.
The trace cases go back. The first case is 1610.
Wow. Wow, that's quite amazing. Really hats off to you for being so diligent to compile what could be a very, very is a very important database. What is your next plan? I mean, if you had unlimited resources, for instance, would you have people there full time? Are you looking at having some sort of full-time presence there in this current case, or what are your plans now for this particular project? I know it's going ahead full speed now, so why don't you give us a kind of an idea of what your thinking is now?
Well, my plans currently, if, as you said, I had unlimited funding, the first thing I would do is I would move there, and I've got really rustic, beautiful places to live in at no cost, and I very definitely would like to be there 24/7, with an occasional few days off. But and I would have a team of probably 2 to 3 there all the time, so we could respond to the most current events immediately. And if things got heavy, as you well know, things do get into a peak situation where you have really a lot going on, then bring in the whole team of 7. And and of course, to keep improving our ability to preserve the events on high def and still images and more types of detector devices, EM, spectrum, just anything at all that would tell us what is going on with these things. And as I know is going on somewhere else, an attempt to, well, I hate to say this, to communicate with whatever the forces at hand are. And so I'm exploring some possibilities of various types of lights, sounds. One thing that does go on, and I was never, believe me, a believer in the paranormal, but again, when it hits you in the face, you got to back up. And
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So what I found is that you can, for example, put out a deck of alphabet cards, and you'll come back to a very isolated building, and there will be something there, a word. And it doesn't matter, the word doesn't really mean anything to you, but it's the fact that something has moved the cards. And I was told by some researchers that be careful, it can follow you home. And I had a kind of a laugh privately about that. And about 2 weeks ago, I get out of the car, and I'm carrying my car keys with me into the house, and I laid them down in the living room. And the next time I was going to drive, I went to get the keys, and they were gone. So I jumped the wife, what'd you do with my car keys? Nothing. So we tear the house apart, and no keys. So we finally give up. We go out, and we have some keys made. And the very next morning, I have this one drawer that I keep my sheepdog's lead in. And I had taken her on that lead every day before. She goes with me everywhere. And I open the drawer. My car keys are laid out in a very neat pattern on top of the dog's chain. And that sort of thing is starting to happen. I can't believe I'm even talking about these things. But, I investigated what was supposed to be a haunted house in Eureka Springs. And I did a thorough investigation because the couple involved were highly credible, and they were having amazing things going on. And I got to see one of them, a chandelier that weighed about 1,000 pounds, started swinging, and all the windows closed, doors closed, no reason that it would start swinging. Videotaped that, and they would have things disappear, very valuable jewelry in a locked case. And she would go to the locked case, unlock it, open it, and the jewelry's gone. And weeks later, she would find it in the bottom of the vase that had plants in it, or something like that, all the time. So here, I really believe there is somehow a connection between the UFO business and what we call the paranormal. I honestly do. And I wish to God I had paid attention to that sort of stuff, along with the physical trace stuff. So I let a lot of, I know now, really good stuff go by me. But we were, back in the day, we were so busy with the landings, you really didn't have time to look at other cases. You just didn't have it.
It also kind of gives you a little bit of tunnel vision, don't you feel that way after all this? Reading books by people like John Keel and others who said there's another aspect to this subject, and you kind of didn't pay attention to it then, did you?
No, I didn't. And you know what I'm currently doing is going back and reading those books. And my wife, who has turned into a really great believer, she and I both saw on the 19th of June this year a lighted object 3 feet off the ground, about 30 feet away.
I'll tell you what, we're going to go into that sighting in a couple of minutes here. But let me tell everybody that if you want to find more of the things that we do on the Paracast, go to theparacast.com. That's the Paracast with a THE, theparacast.com. You'll find over 200 episodes of the show to download so you can catch up, and some people really do that. Ted Phillips joins us. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy, a thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition."
It's the #1 reason for slow and clogged bath drains. That's right, hair. And the #1 way to open drains plugged with hair? The Drain Claw. Stop standing in dirty bathwater. Stop using dangerous chemicals. Just push the drain claw past the pop-up in your sink or tub, twist, and pull. You'll be shocked at what this little tool can pull out of your drain. The drain claw has over 100 tiny hooks that claw through hair, toothpaste, and shampoo that slows and clogs your drains. See how it works right now at thedrainclaw.com. The Drain Claw is made in the USA and is the safest, easiest, most environmentally friendly solution to unclog bath drains. Get one for $6.99 or three for $15. The Drain Claw can be used over and over. Don't be fooled by substitutes. Buy the original. Buy the Drain Claw. Order now at thedrainclaw.com. That's the Drain Claw at thedrainclaw.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Where have all the military surplus stores gone? Don't worry, you don't need one, because everything you need at military surplus is at MaineMilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E Military.com, one of the last surviving true military surplus stores in the country. Go online now to MaineMilitary.com and discover a source for hard-to-find surplus items at true surplus prices. Surplus gun cleaning kits as low as $2.99. Complete chemical suits as low as $11.99. See our huge selection of gas masks, filters, and accessories. Finish at M10 gas masks are 3 for $30, and Swiss filters are 3 for $12. Searching for Strike Anywhere matches? MaineMilitary.com has them, plus a whole new product line of survival and first aid kits and lots more. Get free shipping on orders over $50 only at MaineMilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E Military.com, or call 877-608-0179, 877-608-0179. MaineMilitary.com, the main name in military supply.
Bringing you the best in alternative talk radio for over 10 years. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
You're in the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
The co-host is Chris O'Brien. Our special guest this week is Ted Phillips. He started out as a UFO trace evidence researcher and now is exploring the larger realms of the paranormal because it became too involved for him. Our co-host, Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in the Paracast. So you and your wife had a sighting that you started to tell us about. Before Chris picks up on this, tell us more about this case.
Yeah, she spotted the thing, and we were on the cabin porch, and at that point it was about 60 feet away, and so I grabbed the camera and walked out. We went out and had a very good view of it. It was hovering, and then it would silently shoot up at incredible speeds, come back down at incredible speeds, and stop. I mean, it's physically impossible. So we got to look beyond physically possible stuff. But I shot a number of photos, and one time I caught it when it was not moving. And the rest of the photos are simply the streak of the thing. You can see the colors very well as it went vertical or came down. And so that got her really excited. And she's been reading some of the very best books, I think, by the best person possible, Jacques Vallée. And he talked about a prolific writer. And so she's now going back through all of Jacques' books and looking for similar things that he had reported back years ago in his investigations. And so there is a lot there to find. Passport to Magonia, Messengers of Deception, anatomy of a phenomenon. You can go on and on. The best stuff that's ever really been written and thoroughly documented by him. And it's, I don't know, I think back through the years of the cases where this kind of stuff was involved. And as I say, it just kind of went on by. And the things that happen, you can make sense of them in your mind, although it doesn't mean you're right about what your assumptions are. We've had, starting this year, 2 cases in which an individual is walking across the field and suddenly is surrounded by tiny gold-colored lights about the size of the end of your small finger, and like a net, above, all the way around, and about a foot from his body. And this is in daylight, and they're snapping constantly. He said like a tiny firecracker. And this has happened on 2 different occasions, 2 different locations, several hundred feet apart. And when I asked him, how long did you see them? He got this look on his face, and he said, he was confounded. He said, I don't know. It was like he'd never thought of that and had no realization of the time span. I said, well, how did they move away, disappear? And he said, I don't know. So in both events. Now, and that goes along. It correlates with physical trace landing cases and other cases down through the years where people have sort of no realization of a time period. And I've seen it on some really good trace cases. So there are a lot of things in action. And, it's going on. I had 2 enormous cases just last week. And it's just incredible. One of the things, now Chris was asking, what do I plan to do in the future with all this? Well, I'm keeping all these records very carefully, and I plan to somehow or other publish them at the right point in the future. So I'm not the only one that knows this stuff, basically. And it would fill a very large volume, I can tell you that. And also, I've got to tell you that finally I am writing a book.
All right.
And that will deal primarily with the physical trace investigations that I've done, my relationship with J. Allen Hynek and Jacques and some of the really great people from, well, they're still around. Some of them are still going, but from the years back. And so I don't know how long that's going to take me because I just have to catch the day when I'm in that sort of mode, and work on it. But that's a couple of things. But I want to get the information out to the general public because they would be astonished to think that this is going on in a relatively small area and constantly. And the first report that I'm aware of in the Marley Woods was in 1937. And that was by a couple of people that you could not find more reliable witnesses. And I've managed to get hold of reports up through the late 30s, the 40s, the 50s, on up. And so it's been going on a long time.
Okay, we don't have much time left here, and maybe you could tell our listeners where you're going from here. You're going to be writing a book about your past, hopefully about some of this stuff. Have you had the media try to kind of horn in on the Marley Woods stuff? Have people trying to get in there and say, hey, where is it? Or we're going to try to find it. Do people even find it by accident?
Well, that's the reason that I shut down our website and stopped doing radio shows and TV things and so on. Along with the fact that May the 7th of 2009, I had a stroke, And that kind of nullified things for a while. But fortunately, everything, and I mean everything, is still working now. So, but sort of. And I had done a couple of the UFO Hunters shows. And the last one I did, I sat all day at a park bench listening to people argue about how they needed to proceed with this show. And I decided, well, that'll be the last one of these I do. And so, I mean, I love Burns and all of the UFO Hunters. They're nice guys, but I have been approached by all kinds of media people. And of course, they finally figured out I'm not going to take you to Marley. For one thing, I would probably be shot and killed by the owners if I brought anyone on with any kind of camera. And because the first thing they asked me, they said, the only thing we ask is please keep our names and locations out of the research. And I agreed, and I've done that. And I'll continue to do it, or I'll be thrown off. But we had a couple of individuals come onto the properties. That was taken care of, I think, pretty quickly. One of the ranchers, let's see, what is it, his cousin or nephew, something, is the sheriff in the county. So that was put to a real quick halt. And they authorized me to say on the site, you know, if you try to come on the property, you'll be trespassing and you could be shot.
Okay, and since we still have the Second Amendment, does still work in the U.S., just kind of watch it. So, okay, basically, Ted, we're going to expect, possibly by the time the show airs on the 1st of August or maybe shortly thereafter, the new address of the new site that you're setting up, and we will post it on the Paracast site so that everybody who is listening to the show can figure out what you're doing and check everything out further. Okay, before we let you go, Chris, tell our listeners where we can find your stuff.
Well, I do have a website. It's called Our Strange Planet. That's O-U-R, Our Strange Planet. We live in a very strange planet, and it's Our Strange Planet. So my entire database is on there for anyone interested. Tons of good articles that I've been culling from over the years. And I really want to thank Ted for being on the show. This is just, I think, a historic, monumental case. I'm just flabbergasted at the amount of what appears to be good quality data that you've been able to amass, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with you further about this, Ted.
Absolutely.
Ted Phillips, thank you so much for joining us this week on the Paracast along with Chris O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.
The Paracast is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.